Hi, this is Eric from Longbox Review, a comic book podcast at longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. I know this particular comic that I'm going to talk about has been out for weeks, but I could not let this opportunity pass me by and not talk about the landmark issue, Action Comics number 1000. So, whenever people that are not comic fans who know me find out that I love comic books and superheroes, they inevitably ask me, well, who's your favorite superhero? And without hesitation, my answer is always Superman. He's the first, arguably the greatest. And I love Superman for what he stands for, probably more than the particular adventures that he has in the comics. So, Superman has transcended what he is in the books to become a cultural icon. And that is what I really respond to. Superman, a lot of people think of Superman as the big blue Boy Scout and that he's boring and, all that kind of crap. I don't. I find Superman to be inspiring, something to aspire to, in the way that he views the world, at least as he's been portrayed over the years. Now, of course, various interpretations of Superman by the various writers and artists that have rendered him over the decades. I don't always agree with every interpretation, but the conglomerate, the accepted, I shouldn't say that because other people have different viewpoints on Superman, but what I think of as the accepted standard, that is Superman to me. And I really just kind of look at it very simply. Superman is the guy who does the right thing all the time, despite what's going on. He is the person who does good and does good work and inspires others because of his altruistic viewpoint and his actions. And I just think that, that's something to really look up to. And that's why I like Superman. He's a good being, as they used to say. So I had to get Action Comics 1000 and read all the stories within. And I just kind of wanted to talk through those with you, as have so many other comic book podcasts that I listen to. But this is my take. So I hope you enjoy this, and I look forward to any feedback I get regarding these stories. So, Action Comics 1000. I tell you what, seeing a 4-digit number on a comic book that I have in my hand is just, I think, really cool. And not to put too fine a point on it, DC Comics on the cover put landmark issue, just so you wouldn't miss that point. This is an 80-page giant. Unfortunately, it's $8, which is too bad, but oh well, that's that. I guess that's the price of comic books these days for this. Remember when 80-page giants used to be like really cheap, and well, that's not comics anymore, is it? So, but this is an examination and celebration of the past regarding Superman. So, so I have the main cover, which is the Jim Lee cover with Superman standing there, fists on waist with his cape blowing in the wind, and he has the red shorts on, which that's nice. Actually, I didn't care about the short. I mean, when they first launched the New 52 and they redesigned all the costumes and the shorts were gone and they had more of an armor look, and those collars. It was really the collars that I objected to, just because why would all of these superheroes go to the same tailor? It just didn't make any sense to me. But, that aside, I didn't at first. I will admit this. If you're a longtime listener and you listen to my reaction to the New 52 announcements, I did complain about Superman's costume, but more in the sense of why did they do an armor-like looking costume as opposed to, what we see now on Superman, which is the more traditional look. But I did not really care all that much regarding the shorts. I grew to really like the new 52 Superman look, including the S shield, the way that was done. And of course now, several years later, I guess it's about 7 years later now, we have the old Superman back. I mean, in many ways, it's the same Superman that we had pre-Flashpoint. So it's interesting how those things happen. But anyway, I have here the Jim Lee drawn cover. I don't really go in for all those variants. There was one variant, and I don't remember the artist right now. Shoot. But it was Superman on basically a white background. It was just a gorgeously drawn image, and I should have written that down as to who that was, but I did mention it on Twitter when I was talking about all the variant covers. There are several stories in here, of course. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10 entries in here, plus a couple pinups. And so I was just going to talk through those. So the first story is From the City That Has Everything, written and drawn by Dan Jurgens with inks by Norm Rapmund, colors by Hi-Fi, letters by Rob Lee. This was a 15-page story, as is the next one. And then I think pretty much the rest of them are about 5 pages. We'll see. I had actually read this story right after I read The Mighty Thor number 706, I believe. And so I was in a bit of a different emotional state going into this first story by Dan Jurgens. And the whole idea of Superman being celebrated by the city that he protects, Metropolis, and what his fellow superheroes, his friends, did for him for that day really got to me. I'm like, yeah, this feels good, right? I really appreciated that someone is celebrating Superman instead of, Batman. But because Superman used to be the top seller for years and years. Superman was the comic book character that everybody bought. Batman, I think, at one point was almost canceled, and Superman was going strong. And then, after a few decades, that changed, and Batman's still going strong. So I always feel like Superman gets a lot of short shrift in comics, in the comic book community, the fans. I mean, there are obviously those like me who love the character, but he doesn't have the cachet that he used to have. So when I was reading this story, I was like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be for Superman. So I really appreciated that. The whole idea of Lois talking. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't read this, I will be talking about details. So, the obvious spoiler warnings, I guess. But the way that Lois was talking to quote unquote Perry throughout the story, it was quite obvious from the beginning that something was up, but you weren't quite sure. And what it turns out is that Wonder Woman and a bunch of the superheroes, including the Martian Manhunter, who does this weird thing that I'm going to mention in a minute, but they decide to protect the Earth, protect Metropolis, so that Superman doesn't have to. And which I thought was really, really sweet. And there's this one splash page that spills onto another page here, showing all of the heroes who have gathered to show their thanks or express their thanks to Superman. I just really dug that. But yeah, so this was a really sweet, kind of saccharine story. But you know what? It hit the right marks for me, even if it was a little, there wasn't much to this other than, hey, Superman's great. And don't you agree that Superman's great? And yes, I do. So there you go. But just to illustrate or just to point out the thing about Martian Manhunter. So, it's not really the point of the story to get into some of these specifics, but I thought it was weird that Jurgens decided to use Martian Manhunter as a way to pull the wool over Superman's eyes so he doesn't rush off to help people. Because the Manhunter uses his telepathy to show or to convince Superman that those threats aren't actually there, so that the other heroes can address it. And Superman being Superman, he doesn't really question it. And like I said, it's a 15-page story, so there's not much room to really, and it's not the point to really get into that. But it's just an odd thing that the guy who stands for truth among the justice and a good way of life, that he would be okay with the Manhunter doing that. I don't know. It was weird. Wonder Woman 2, it just seems like a weird choice, but it was to move the plot along. I guess you had to do something like that. And then there was like I said, that splash page showing everybody, which is a lot of Justice League members, a lot of members of the Batman family, Green Lanterns, and Teen Titans, with a few extra odd characters showing up here as well, including, I think, in the background there is the new character Sideways. It looks like him. And more importantly, is Deathstroke and Harley Quinn. And I know Deathstroke in his title, they were playing with the idea that he's trying to be a good guy now, I guess. I don't read it, but that's kind of the gist I got. But I don't know what's going on now, but all I know at the time of this recording, there's a fight going on between Deathstroke and Batman. I don't know anything else about it, but I presume that Deathstroke is either back to his old tricks, which of course, good villains, you can't always reform them forever. So I don't know. It was just weird to me then to see these two. Are they anti-heroes now? Harley Quinn seems to be, but I'm not so sure about Deathstroke yet. Anyway, I just thought it was odd. Nice to see Nightwing though in the picture, of course, who is my second favorite superhero of all time. If it wasn't for Superman, he would totally be my favorite. But anyway, that's what I like about this story here. At the end, Lois, to put a fine point out, Lois says, "Your father, Superman," she's talking to John, their son, "is the most understanding man I've ever met. He knows he shares a bond with Metropolis, and that every now and then, in appreciation for all he's given them, the people get to return the gesture. That's what makes him Superman." I don't know that's what makes him Superman. That's one part, I suppose. But anyway. All right. The next one is probably my favorite story in this book. So this is The Never-Ending Battle. Story and words by Peter Tomasi, art by Patrick Gleason, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, and colors by Tom Napolitano. This is I think it's a 15 pages, 15 splash pages is what it is. This was really cool. The story is that Vandal Savage has found a way to, what was it here? He found a way to weaponize hypertime. And so Superman is trapped in a fabric of yesterdays, a loop that never ends, a loop that never crosses mine, allows me to be victorious in the here and now. This is Vandal Savage talking. "We will never meet again, Superman. Your future is in the past." So, so this story is told from Superman's point of view. And then what we get, the rest of the pages, is seeing Superman throughout various time periods. And it's really a celebration. It's kind of meta. It's really a celebration of him during or through his publishing time. And so we see, like late 30s Superman battling gangsters here in the first page. And Superman talks a lot about, what is driving him, what connects him. It's kind of neat because they do reference hypertime, which is related to this, right? The Speed Force? Or am I just totally making that connection up? But it reminded me at least of the Flash, in regards to the Speed Force, in which if a Flash gets stuck in the Speed Force, he needs an anchor to draw him back. And so that's what Superman's talking about throughout his visits through these time periods. through these hypertime periods. It's his family. It's Lois and John whom he is working his way towards. He's fighting his way back. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then, we see again, these splash pages showing him in the early 40s, perhaps. You could tell by the way that the S shield is drawn on his chest, the different eras. We see him during World War II with Sergeant Rock here. Some funny outer space adventures with some Lilliputian characters, which was lovely. I love that little thing. Fighting some underground creatures. I don't know. Some of this stuff I don't know if it's based on actual stories or if it's just kind of an homage to stuff that has happened. He's fighting a dragon here, so we're getting further on into the... Lois is in this one, which is weird. So Clark is fighting a dragon and it's burning off his clothes. You see the Superman suit underneath. And Lois is right behind him in this 60s looking yellow outfit. And if I thought, well, that's kind of strange to include Lois there, because if what he's trying to do is get back to his family, I know it's, his family now, the current incarnation of his family, but I thought it was just kind of weird that they put Lois here. I would think that not having Lois there would accentuate this idea that he's trying to get back to his wife. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There's this great page here where supposedly Vandal Savage knows that Superman is working his way through hypertime, and what better way to stop him than other versions of himself? And so you get a Super Friends version looking character here, along with another Superman. Not sure which version that's supposed to be fighting him. You get a Frank Miller Dark Knight homage with lightning striking Superman. He looks very much like he did in The Dark Knight Returns after the nuclear explosion. You have him fighting, is that Silver Banshee, I believe? So we're now, we're getting into the 90s here. Yep, 90s, because he's fighting Mongrel and he's in the black suit after he died. And there's this great shot of, I think it's Zod here and Ursa perhaps, with Superman in the Phantom Zone, but they Gleason portrayed it as the way, or in the way that they showed the Phantom Zone in Superman the movie, with that rectangular viewpoint, I guess. I'm not sure. It's kind of like a container, a 2-dimensional rectangular container, and Superman's trapped in it. I thought that was really cool. And you see, is it supposed to be his fortress in the background, or is that Krypton? I don't know. You get a nice Kingdom Come shot here. So he's going all over through hypertime. But of course, he gets back. He gets back and joins his family. It's his birthday, which I thought was really cool. And there's like 10 million candles on there. Actually, I don't know. I should probably count them. I wonder if they add up to 80. And of course, Crypto's there. So I thought that was really cool. Now there's a pinup by John Romita Jr., which I don't like. I don't think it's drawn very well, but I'm not a big fan of Romita Jr.'s. The next story is An Enemy Within. I think it's only 5 pages. Yeah, 5-page story. Now we're getting into the shorter stories. This is script by Marv Wolfman, art by Kurt Swan, with inks by Butch Geis on pages 1 through 4. And then Kurt Schavenberger does inks for page 5, but page 5 is actually taken from Superman The Secret Years. So I guess as a way to cap that off. Of course, they had to have something from Kurt Swan in here. I certainly don't mind that. But this is not one of the best stories here. I didn't really care for it. But, it's basically this guy's holding this woman hostage, threatening to kill her. Maggie Sawyer is there, and she's doing the right thing in that she's not trying to eliminate the guy, but she's trying to stop him from doing, making a bad choice. And it's not really his choice. He's under the control of Brainiac, we find out. And so again, the story is narrated by Superman. He's telling it after the fact of these events. And the reason I say Maggie's not trying to just eliminate the guy, she had the cops shoot him with rubber bullets to incapacitate him. so it's this is a story not about Superman per se, but it's about the people of, like Maggie, the people of Metropolis, whom is inspired by Superman, but also inspires Superman. So I thought that was a nice touch. The story ends with this little thing from Brainiac, basically trying to take over this garden. This guy who's messing with. No, I think he's supposed to be a homeless guy, but he's messing with some grass or something by this fountain. And Maggie walks by and offers to help him. Another showing another compassionate human being here, or not another one, but showing Maggie is compassionate yet again. But what this really is it's an odd way to end it, because the bit of dialogue here from Brainiac is that he's trying to take over this guy, but he can't. A connection attempt, drastic failure, project terminated, offline, and it goes, and the story ends. But so I guess the moral of the story is that human beings. Well, I mean, Superman even says, the guy who held the woman hostage, he fought back. Brainiac's control wasn't perfect. So, yeah. So it's just the human spirit, I guess. Yeah, Superman himself says, Brainiac was doomed to lose because, simply put, mankind is stubborn. Yeah, they won't long bow down to any master. Compared to the natives of other worlds, their bodies are fragile, but it always amazes me how strong they can be. So there you go. The next story is The Car, written by Jeff Johns, and story by Jeff Johns and Richard Donner. Artist is Olivier Coipel. Alejandro Sanchez on colors. Says, special thanks to Matt Wilson, I guess, for colors. Nick Napolitano on letters. And this is a fun one because this is told from the perspective of one of the guys that was in the car from Superman's first appearance. So you remember that the iconic Action Comics #1 cover where he's smashing a car into a hill or a wall, or I forget now. So this is one of those guys. So the car is in the shop. One of the guys is there. The mechanic's asking him what happened. We see a flash of Superman standing there, and the guy says, "A man wearing red underwear." And the mechanic says, "You got to lay out the sauce for a while, pal." Anyway, so apparently Superman put this guy on a telephone pole. He crawled down, and why he took the car back to the mechanic, I don't know. But anyway, he did. And so he's just kind of waiting around for the guy to fix his car, but the car is so messed up. There's no way. This is not going to happen anytime soon. And there's this great shot here. So he's walking around basically a junkyard, and he looks up and sees a bird, looks over and sees a plane, and then he looks behind him, and it's Superman. I thought that was really cool what they did there. What Mr. Coipel does, because it's a bird, it's a plane. I love that. And so then Superman shows up and he says, "I went back to the telephone pole, but you were gone. I've met a lot of men like you, Butch, hot shots with big mouths and the muscle to back them up. You get away with just about everything you want, pushing the little guy around. Some might say you deserve to be back on that telephone or something higher." That touches on how Superman was a little more less he was a little less understanding of criminals back in the early days. And didn't hesitate to just beat up a guy for little provocation. But here they do tone it down a little bit. So Superman did some digging on the guy, the compassion of Superman here. And he realizes that the guy's he says here, "You've had your fair share of knocks, and you can keep knocking the world back like you've done, or you can make a decision today. Be the person who wasn't there for you for someone else. It's your life, Butch. You can fix it, or you can junk it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. See you around." And so Butch thinks about it, and then the last panel is him in the city, opening up a fire hydrant to allow the kids of the neighborhood to cool off and have some fun. So supposedly he's turned a new leaf, as they say. The next story is by Scott Snyder with art by Raphael Albuquerque, colors by Dave McCaig, letters by Tom Napolitano. It's called The Fifth Season. And I have to admit, I had to reread this one a couple times because I wasn't quite getting what Snyder was going for with this whole fifth season thing. But then I realized I was missing the obvious. But this is an encounter between Superman and Lex Luthor at the Smallville Planetarium. And, you put a planetarium in a story or put me in a planetarium and I'm just happy. But it's them talking. Lex has acquired the Eye of Zotar and Kronos' time scissors, which is a lovely DC Comics thing, time scissors, which Superman admits, which together could, hypothetically, be used to cut any geological line from history. So he knows what Lex is thinking about. But Lex says, but the eye can also be used to see deep into space, and the time scissors to slice away layers of time. And so Lex then starts the planetarium show, and Superman's like, "What are you doing? What are you up to?" And then Lex launches into this remembrance where he was a boy when he was a boy in Smallville, and he had this. This is where he references the fifth season. There's something in towns like Smallville called the fifth season, a period between winter and spring, just a couple of weeks really, when the weather goes crazy. Anything can happen. Tornadoes of sunshine and so on. So then he talks about how his dad was abusive. And so in many ways to get away from that, he did things like this, where he did these experiments. And what he wanted to do, in fourth grade, he says, my lab partner and I built a rudimentary laser in chemistry class. Of course, I was the brains behind it all, but still. Lasers fired through telescopic lenses are exponentially more powerful, and so I took it here to the planetarium, and I sent a message into space, an SOS. He says he should have died because the nitroglycerin that he was using for this laser, he had not heated it. Oh, sorry, nitroglycerin. It's liquid nitrogen. He didn't heat the liquid nitrogen, and when he fired the laser, it should have exploded and killed him, but it didn't. And we find out the reason why is because young Clark Kent used his heat vision to heat up the liquid nitrogen and allowed Lex's message to go out. Superman says, you can still have come here just to stargaze, It's still the fifth season, they both say. And then what we see is the planetariums thing program is ending because what it's talking about is how the sun, eventually the sun will eat our Mercury, and then Venus, and then Earth, and then our time ends. And so they, like I say, they both say the fifth season. Lex says, I got the eye and the scissors to kill you. So he admits it. Superman says, I know you did, Lex, but maybe. And it was that but maybe part that really threw me. And I was like, what's the whole thing? What is the message of this? What's the theme here? So really, to me, the fifth season is like Lex says, anything can happen. So yes, he did get those things to kill Superman, but this being the fifth season, or him reminiscing about the fifth season, that time, it's really just he wanted to stargaze. He wants the companionship. This is totally me reading into it, but everything dies eventually, and all we have is a short time on Earth, and all we have are the people in our lives. So you choose, just like Butch in the previous story, you choose what to do with your life here. You do some good things, or you choose to do some bad things. So anyway, I liked it better on reread. If I'm going to edit Scott Snyder, I would say take out that last bit of dialogue. I don't think we needed it. But then again, now I'm editing myself. If we end it just on the planetarium's words here, and then our time ends, it's kind of a bit of a downer ending, perhaps, and maybe they didn't want to go for that. But anyway, I enjoyed it for the interaction between Lex and Superman. It's interesting, though. We show the sun, or they show the sun engulfing the Earth as the sun, transforms into a red giant and swallows up the inner planets. Well, the next story, that's exactly what's happening. The next story is Of Tomorrow, written by Tom King. Clayman does the art. Jody Belair does beautiful colors on this, really knocking it out of the park, with letters by John Workman. And this is Superman returning to Earth, I think billions of years in the future, because this is when, like I say, the sun expands and eats the Earth, so to speak. And Superman is there, beautifully drawn by Clayman, and the colors, like I said, are just beautiful in here, conveying that what's going on with the Earth and the sun. But it's Superman here visiting Earth, visiting the graves of his foster parents one last time. And we find out, like I say, it's billions of years here, billions of years later. Mankind has moved on away from the Earth. Lois is still around because she, let's see, where is it? She has taken the Eternity formula, which tastes like grape, which Superman says, which she liked, but it's a lot of years. She's tired of grape. And he talks about his son, how John reminds him of his mother, his ma, kind and so damn stubborn. He tells him, obviously, I miss you, I love you every day. It doesn't matter how long it's been, it's still every day. He says, look, I don't know if you're here or out there or just gone. So it's probably better that this is the last time. In the end, as the Earth is being swallowed up, he's taken some earth. He grabs a handful of dirt at the beginning of the story, and crushes it into a diamond, which I'm not quite sure that is how that works. But anyway, I know Superman can crush coal into diamond. I've seen that 100 million times in the comics, but I know it looks just like dirt. Yeah, I don't think you can just press dirt into diamond. Maybe, I don't know. It's comic book physics, so obviously. Anyway, but he's taken that diamond and he's used his heat vision to create a little statue of Ma and Pa Kent with him as a youngster, and he lays that down at their gravesite. And he says in the end, as I said, as the Earth is being swallowed up, we're all stardust fallen, and so we look to the sky and we wait to be reclaimed. And he says to his parents, and thank you for everything. I just thought it was a really touching story. I really enjoyed that. The gravestone or grave plaque says, Kent, Jonathan, and Martha, beloved parents and grandparents, you gave us hope. Yes, exactly. They did. I love that. Okay. Next story, 5 Minutes by Louise Simonson is the writer. Jerry Ordway. Of course, you have to have Ordway do some work on this. He had a long run on Superman there. Dave McCaig on colors. Carlos M. Mangual on letters. This is just one of those, quick, funny little stories. Clark has a deadline. Perry's, breathing down his neck, but Superman has things he has to do. And so even though he's got only 5 minutes to meet his deadline, Superman is out doing various things, and then gets back to the planet he just in time, just in the nick of time, as Superman is prone to do, gets it out. He says, just send it to layout, Chief. That's old news, Kent. Superman did this and this and this. I want interviews, first-person accounts. Get on it, Kent. I'm holding the presses. It's cute. Not much to it, but it's cute. It's just nice to see Perry White again in the Superman stories. A lot of the Superman supporting cast has not been in the stories here in the last few years, at least that I've read. So it's nice to see these characters again. The next story is Action Land by Paul Dini, pencils by the great Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, inks by Kevin Nolan, which I can totally tell, colors by Trish Mulvihill, letters by Josh Reed. And so it starts off with So you see this woman, this red-haired woman, welcoming everyone to the most thrilling, colossal entertainment experience in the galaxy, the fully immersive Superman's Action Land. And, you know, just that picture of the female character here, is such a Garcia Lopez drawn character. It was such a delight to see that. I miss Garcia Lopez's work, and so it was nice to see this here. Anyway, so these people are getting on, you know, a Disneyland-like cart to ride through the life story of Superman with this female character narrating. See a lot of things, some interesting interaction or reactions by the human characters here. Just shot of the Justice League, some villains, this is where I really see the Kevin Nolan inks come out. So you know it's him. But then as it says here, the final battle between Superman and his greatest foe, the godlike interdimensional being Mr. Mxyzptlk, that's when things kind of fall apart. And what this is I guess it's a role play session between Mixie and his wife, Gypsy. But you know, he gets down in the dumps, but his wife is like, you could will Superman out of existence like that. But once you get started, your mind wanders off into infinite what-if scenarios, and for a being who can endlessly rewrite reality, that's a lot of ifing. And on a deeper level, I don't think you want the story to end. Ever. And Mixie's like, what? No, that's not... Well, maybe. She says, Superman defines you, well, part of you, the naughty little spark of cosmic mischief that wears a purple hat. Lucky for me, I like that part. And then it ends with Batmite and I've forgotten what he's called. Well, there's a couple other imps here. One of which is the I've forgotten the character's name. Bad comic fan. Johnny Thunder. He says "say you," and there's the genie that comes out. I can't remember what they call that character. And then there's this other imp that I kind of recognize, but I don't know who it is. So I need to look that up. But anyway, the next page there's a nice Walt Simonson, Brennan Wagner pinup of Superman. The sun makes an appearance in the background. I know this, you know, the sun is a huge thing, the yellow sun. So there's a lot of stories involving suns in this book. So I thought it was interesting. The next story, which is another of my favorites. This is Faster Than a Speeding Bullet by Brad Meltzer, art by John Cassaday, colors by Laura Martin, letters by Chris Eliopoulos. And so this basically, it's another hostage situation, and it's always a guy holding a gun to a woman's head. I'm really tired of that trope. But that's what this is, and this, unlike the other guy, from the Maggie Sawyer centric story with Brainiac, this guy is just a bad dude, and he's threatening to kill this woman. Superman knows of this, but he's so far away. He says, "I won't make it." And as he's getting closer to the city and the situation, Superman says, "I see his bronchi dilate. Glucose rushes to his skeletal muscles, his body preparing for what's next." Superman says out loud, "No, I won't make it. But I have to try." And we see the gun. The guy's fired the gun, and we see this cool inside image of the mechanisms of the gun with the bullet being fired out. Superman says, "I watched the gunpowder ignite. A femtosecond later, the bullet rotates along the grooves of the barrel. This particular 45 travels 830 feet per second. I know my top speed. I know the distance. I'm close, but this is math. I won't make it." But then the victim here, this woman, she does something extraordinary. She leans her weight against the barrel of the gun as the guy fires it. As Superman says, into the danger. It buys her an attosecond. It's not enough to stop the bullet. but it does have an impact. So as Superman notices this, he says, supersonic becomes hypersonic, then becomes that speed I haven't flown since Pa. Which I thought, okay, I'll come back to that. Anyway, so because of the woman's actions, Superman is able to get there in time to stop the bullet. He tells her that was brave, to which she replies, "I just did what Batman would. That was a joke." Superman good-naturedly takes it good-naturedly, says, "I knew that. I mean it though. You should think about joining the police." She says, "You sound like my dad." He says, "All of us are here for a reason," echoing what was put in Superman the movie with Pa Kent telling his son the same thing, which I thought was really cool. And Superman flies off, the sun in the background, highlighting it, and he says, "Your dad is a smart man." And so it ends with a conversation between Lois and Clark, and Lois says, "I see that look on your face. You met a good one today, didn't you?" "I meet a good one every day." "You know what I'm saying, Clark? People always say they're inspired by you, but I know your real secret. You're the one inspired by them." So echoing what I had said earlier about why I love Superman. I will nitpick this story just a tiny bit. It's interesting, he knows his top speed. He said supersonic becomes hypersonic, that speed he hasn't flown since Pa. Why wasn't he flying at that speed to begin with? Why did he wait till then to speed up? If he, at the beginning of the story, he knows what's going on. Why wasn't he flying hypersonically already? Anyway, but it's still a nice story. I really like this one. It's probably it's my second favorite story. No, I don't know. Can't decide between that one or the Tom King story as far as my second one. Probably this one. Right now, I'll say it's this one. There's another pinup by Jorge Jimenez with Superman just sitting there in the clouds doing kind of the thinker pose. That's really nice. And then we get the ending story. The Truth by Brian Michael Bendis, Jim Lee doing the pencils, Scott Williams on inks, as always, Alex Sinclair on colors, as always with Jim Lee, at least I think, and Corey Pettit on letters. So this is supposed to be the introduction to what comes next with Action Comics 1001. Brian Michael Bendis coming here. I have already talked about on a few episodes where I am looking forward to what Bendis is going to do with Superman, do to Superman, however you want to take it. What his contributions to the Superman mythos will be. And so this is supposed to be an introduction to that. And I have to say, because, Superman's in a fight with a big alien. And how many times have we seen that? And he is, it's very reminiscent of Doomsday, although this guy is not just a mindless brute. The guy talks. He handily is dealing with not just Superman, but Supergirl too. And so there's a revelation in the end that, his name is Rogal Zar, and he says, "I cleansed the galaxy of the Kryptonian plague, and I am here to finish the job." The interesting revelation when I first read this was that this is it. The Kryptonian sickness finally ends today, just like I once promised Jor-El when I destroyed the planet Krypton. So, and it says, to be continued in the Man of Steel miniseries. So, like I said, at first it's like, ooh, they're playing around with, who destroyed Krypton again. But, it's again, and, Jor-El had a hand in it. But we just had a story featuring Jor-El as Mr. Oz, and he wasn't the good father, the savior or potential savior of Krypton, the savior of his son, as he's been shown in the past. So we're getting a revision of that, of the character. I don't know. It's not very original. It's not very innovative. It's kind of same old, but with Brian Michael Bendis character dialogue. So the one thing I did like about this story were the two incidental characters that we'll probably never see again. These two women who are just sitting and chatting as this fight breaks out around them. Superman crashes into the restaurant and they go help him. You know, they drag him behind behind the counter to buy him some time. But, you know, despite the, you know, I like the fact that these two very frail human characters are helping Superman with this uber monster type character, right? They don't think twice about it. They just help him. So again, it is echoing those themes of, you know, Superman inspires and is inspired by the you know, we Earthers. So I really like that theme. But you know, it's let me give you a sense of the dialogue here. So they're dragging him behind the counter, and one of them's like, "Excuse me, Mr. Superman," trying to wake him up, and the other woman says, "Man, he's heavy," which it's a nice little detail I like. He's so heavy, you think? He's wearing the red shorts again. I saw. Why? You know, just this is Brian Michael Bendis. You know, I find it funny. I know a lot of people don't. That these characters are talking about, you know, Superman shorts among this dangerous situation. But, you know, it's one of the things I like about Bendis's work. Anyway, it continues. He doesn't look like Superman without the shorts. Shh, he'll hear you. I don't get past his eyes. Things like that. Again, with the shorts, without the shorts, it's just not him. So, you know, I think there's a little meta commentary there going on, but his underwear is on the outside of his clothes. He's an alien from another planet. It might be a symbol of hope to his people. That is probably the best line in the whole story. But anyway, I like those two characters. Yeah, it's kind of stupid that they're talking about such things in that situation, but you know, people do weird things in stressful situations. More importantly, they were helping Superman. So anyway, that is Action Comics 1000. I have to say I was really looking forward to seeing what Bendis was going to bring to Superman, and now if that's the taste, I'm a little leery. So however, I will be getting the Man of Steel miniseries. I think the 6-issue weekly series, I think it is. And then I'll be getting both Superman and Action Comics, starting with number 1001. And I'm just going to be tickled pink that, again, that we have a comic book in the 4-digit range now. So anyway, that's my look at Action Comics 1000. I'd be really interested in hearing your take on any or all of these stories and what you think of the new direction of Superman going forward. I want to say go listen to the Never Stay Dead podcast. They did a spotlight on Action Comics 1000. I know Wednesday Comics also did that as well. I'm sure other people have done their take on this particular issue. So, you know, I encourage you go check out those other podcasts, listen to what they have to say, compare it to what I have to say, and I want to know what you have to say about Action Comics 1000 and the stories within. If you'd like to let me know what you think about those things, you can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com, or you can leave comments at the blog, as always, longboxreview.com, or just hit me up on Twitter at longboxreview. So with that, I will leave you and thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.